Hello, I'm Michael Fitzpatrick, and I've served as the chair of the Democratic Town Committee over the years in Monson, Massachusetts. With the help of M-PACT, we're reaching out to the citizens of Monson to increase their awareness of the credentials of the candidates running to serve the town in various leadership capacities, including the Select Board and School Committee. We're delighted to see that M-PACT, once again, is creating an opportunity for candidates to share information to create a more informed public. Over the years, we've worked with M-PACT for various political forums, including asking questions or raising questions to the social studies students. But in the COVID-19 environment, certain modifications are necessary. So the program that will follow this introduction will enable each candidate to briefly share in a succinct form their candidacy and the reasons why you should consider voting for them. Once again, we thank M-PACT, and it's our goal constantly to create an informed citizenry to make the best judgments possible. And we thank everyone for their willingness to run. And we encourage you to vote on June 8th from 8 to 8. It's 888, not difficult to recall that, at the town hall to cast your vote. Thank you very much. We wish everyone the best of health.
Hello, Monson. I'm Karen Nodi Valley, and I'm running for the Monson Select Board. I care deeply about Monson. Monson has a bright future. I have a great attitude, and I look forward to serving all of the residents and businesses in town. I can't wait for the June 8th town election, but honestly, I'm already working hard for you. Many of you know me personally, and if you don't, I can't wait to meet you. In the meantime, talk to your friends and neighbors, reach out to me by checking my social media page, campaign page if you're on Facebook, private message me. I am the most approachable and accessible candidate seeking this particular seat. I announced my candidacy early and first. I have expected challengers and I planned for it, and I wanted to have plenty of time to get to know everybody and for you to get to know me. When the campaign is over, I'll have the energy and the time for policy work. Monson is my hometown. I have deep roots. Both my sets of grandparents are from Monson. My parents are from Monson. My stepmom is from Monson, and I was born here. My grandmother, Allison Morgan, was my neighbor for 20 years. She passed away recently. And my dad and my stepmom, Jim and Cindy Nodi, they have been married for 40 years. My husband, Keith, and I have been married half that long. We're about to celebrate our 20th. And when we married, we purchased our home in the section of town in Monson, affectionately known as Nodiville, in the Stafford Road, Mayhill, Bumstead area. My great uncle, who passed away in recent years, is famous for his chalkboard signs where he showcased his dry sense of humor at his gas stations for decades in downtown Monson. When Keith and I married in 2001, we chose to raise our blended family here. Our adult sons are Cody and Sean Valley. We have a daughter-in-law, Brittany. Our youngest son, Brandon, is 17, and he's a senior at Monson High. Sean's girlfriend, Maddie, is part of the family, and we have 3 sweet grandkiddos, as I like to call them. Keith and I have built our family and careers together throughout our marriage. I worked at Mass Mutual for 18 years. They recently sold off their retirement business, so I've transitioned to a new company, but I help large corporations operate their 401k plans compliantly and correctly as a regulatory consultant. At one point, I was the human resources paralegal for Mass Mutual. I completed all of my college degrees as an adult learner. I have degrees from Elms College and UMass in business law, and I completed my education in 2016 when I received my MBA from UMass Eisenberg. I have a strong foundation in financial and legal matters. I'm prepared for all the important work that will come in front of the board, including contract negotiations and personnel decisions. The individuals who sit in these 3 seats on the board should understand, as I do, that these seats are no place for personal agendas. I assure you that when I'm in one of these seats, that I will always do what's in the best interest of the community. I will be ethical and have high integrity, treat everyone with respect and fairness. I will always put the community's interests ahead of my own. Next, there should be transparency in government, and it starts with having good communication between the various boards in the town and the public. I pay close attention to details. The select board is the appointing body for the various boards, so everyone who is able and willing to serve should be given equal consideration. We need to welcome younger people into the process. Munson is experiencing a time of generational change. We've had some long-term retirements in the town employees. Additionally, Ed Harrison is not seeking re-election of this seat. I wish Ed well. I'm an excellent choice to be the next leader on the board for Monson. I'm determined to do an excellent job and help shape Monson's future through proactive leadership. I regularly already attend meetings, talking to constituents and residents in town. One thing I believe that is something that has been looked at in the past that needs a new pair of eyes is that there seems to be limited options for senior housing in Monson for folks that cannot get into Colonial Village and maybe cannot afford to get an over 55 condo or need additional services. So that's a gap that I would like to look at, developing options for affordable assisted living in town so that seniors could stay in town and not be displaced to other places as they age. Everyone cares about how their tax dollars are spent, whether their taxes are going up. And as a select board member, I will pay close attention to everything. I will be fiscally conservative. I will look at everything in terms of how does this affect the taxpayer? And I will encourage the town and work on investigating all possible revenue sources, grant programs that Monson would qualify for, consider regionalization and cost sharing opportunities where they make sense to save money. Also, in speaking of grant programs, when I'm talking to people in town, it sounds like there may be a need to upgrade the van service for the seniors. And there are grant programs that we should look into where we may be able to do that. A few other ideas I picked up from meeting with residents are the town website needs to be modernized. People say they want community development, beautification projects. They want business pop-ups. They want new festivals in town. And I think that we need to be open to consider all possibilities. It doesn't mean obviously we'll do everything, but we just need to have a culture of openness for progress and development and allow some room for growth and improvement. I am for positive change. Rest assured, though, I will always protect the charm of the town and the reason that we all live here. Proactive leadership, community involvement, and positive change. I will deliver results for Monson. Please show up for the polls on June 8th or sooner if voting early or by mail. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pat Oney, and I'm running for the Select Board. I'm very proud to be a resident of Monson. I have a long history of involvement in town government and in working for our community. I'm not seeking office because I have an agenda or a pet project, but I want to work for what's best for the town as a whole. And to me, that means preserving Monson's small town qualities while moving into the future. My focus will always be on public safety and education, but I realize there are other issues that we need to face, including environmental issues. And part of that means looking to preserve open space. We also need to look in ensuring our financial position. And to me, that means continuing to encourage commercial enterprise. This is a critical election. We all know that the country's divided, and there's the same divisiveness in our small town. It's imperative to have someone who will encourage communication, be open to everyone's ideas, and be capable of making reasoned, sound, and fair decisions. And I'm uniquely qualified to do so. I have a bachelor's degree in economics from Rutgers College. I have a doctorate of laws from Western New England School of Law. I've been employed by the Massachusetts Department of Developmental Services as Assistant General Counsel for 28 years, a position from which I am now retired. I've practiced law in a number of areas, many of which will be important and applicable to the work of the Select Board, including labor law, and specifically collective bargaining, contract law, and zoning law. I moved to Monson in 1983 after law school and soon became involved in town politics and government. I've been appointed and elected to a number of positions in town. I was elected to the Board of Assessors for 4 consecutive terms. I was also elected in 2016 to the school committee. I was appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I also was appointed as town council, a position in which I served for 8 years. In 2014, Governor Baker made me his appointee to the Monson Housing Authority, a position in which I've continued to this day and will continue to serve in even after the election. Recently, both Carrinoti Valley and I received a letter from a group calling itself Monson Citizens for Good Government. The letter wasn't signed, so I didn't have the opportunity to respond directly to that letter, but I'd like to take a minute to do that now. Paraphrasing the letter, it asked one of us to step out of the election and run next year, so that one of us would run this year and one of us would run next year, and that we would agree to support each other in our respective elections. Karen and I spoke briefly about that. We both agreed that it was totally unacceptable, and obviously neither one of us took any action on it. I'm sure that their intent was good, but to me that was collusion between candidates, and the most important thing in a democracy is a full and fair election, and that's not the way to go. The way to get your candidate elected is to make sure you go and vote and encourage other people to vote too. And frankly, I think all 3 candidates are very different. I have unparalleled experience in town government and in the issues that we'll face going forward. I have the undeniable ability to perform the responsibilities and duties of a select board member. I have the temperament and lack of personal agenda to be a fair and concerned leader. And finally, I have the time and energy to devote to the position as a retiree. So I ask that you vote for me and we move forward together. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Curtis. I'm running for re-election for the Board of Assessors in Monson. As many of you know, I've lived in Monson all my life. I grew up here and lived here with my wife, Rete. We raised our family here in the town we love. After being honorably discharged from the Air Force, I completed my sheet metal apprenticeship at Pratt & Whitney Aircraft. I then returned to Monson to work at Zero Corporation. It used to be on Main Street before they closed, and had the opportunity to work my way up through the ranks and to serve as production manager there for many, many years. That business experience served me very well, and I always treated my Zero team with respect they deserved. I have been honored to be on your Board of Assessors for the last 14 years, and I've been the chair of the board for the last 5 years. I have treated my role on the board as I treat everything. I work hard to serve people, in this case, the residents of Monson. My goal is simple: treat every resident fairly and assess according to the laws mandated by the state of Massachusetts and the Department of Revenue. The state mandates each assessor be certified, and I've been certified all the years I've been on the board. I took my training at UMass and then took the test online like everyone does. The residents of Monson a lot of time ask me about their assessment. I recommend they go to the office and get a copy of their property record card to make sure it's accurate. The principal assessor and our assistant assessor can explain the codes as it's on the card. For your information, we on the board meet every 3 to 4 weeks in open session, and residents are welcome to attend. We then go into executive session, and those are to take care of confidential matters. Your Board of Assessors always tries to do an excellent job, keeping your tax rate as low as possible in the town, with limited commercial properties, by tracking new growth and pertinent information. I have no interest in assessing your property higher than true value. By assessing fairly and accurate, everyone pays their fair share, and which keeps Monson's tax rate as low as possible. I know the choice is yours, but I would very much like to continue serving you, our community, on the Board of Assessors. I would appreciate your vote on June 8th, and thank you very much for your cooperation and your time. Thanks again.
Hello, my name is Chris Haley, and I'm running for the seat on the Monson Board of Assessors. I want to take a little bit of time here to tell you who I am. I grew up in Monson, went to Monson High School, graduated from Monson High School in 1984. Went off to college, went to WPI, graduated in 1988 with a degree in electrical engineering. Went out into the real world for a few years, decided I wanted to come back to Monson and join the family business, which I did, excuse me, in about 1990. I got married, married my wife Marie. We've been married for 32 years. We got married in 1989. She would say that we went to register for first grade together, and that's probably true, but I just don't remember that. So she grew up in town as well. In 1990, we built a house in town. 1992, we started having kids. We had 2 kids who also grew up in town. So we have a pretty close connection to the town of Monson. My family's been in town for 4 generations, so we very much care about the town. So I moved back. I work and co-own Squire Lumber and Hardware in downtown Monson, and I've been running that together with my brother for 32 years. Things I like to do, so you know a little bit more about me personally. I like to garden. I like to brew beer. I like to play bagpipes, woodworking. I'm one of the founding members of the Quabog Highlanders pipe band in town, which I'm pretty proud about. You would ask why I would want to be on the Board of Assessors, and that's a great question to ask. I feel like we all need to give back to the town. From a professional standpoint, I feel like Squire Lumber's given a lot to the town, but I feel like I have not given enough to the town. And I think in today's day and age, it's important to be involved. So I wanted to give back more personally. So that's the first reason that I wanted to be on the Board of Assessors. It's important to support the town and push for what you believe in. The second reason I would like to be on the Board of Assessors is that I need to learn more about the town finances. There's a lot that I don't know, honestly, and I think it's important that I have a better understanding. Like things like I don't know what the depreciation schedule they use for personal property in town. It seems like I can't get an answer to that, and I'd like to know. I don't know how the town deals with property price appreciation. The market's pretty hot right now, and how does that work with the town? Is that considered growth and is thus exempt from the 2.5 property limit overrides? I don't really know the answer to that. So I feel like the only way I can get answers to these sorts of questions, and there's probably a whole bunch more questions that I'm going to come up with if I'm elected. I feel like the only way I can get answers to them is to get them from the inside. So that's the second reason I'd like to be elected. And the third and last reason I would like to be elected is that I feel it's important to get more representation from the taxpayer's perspective on town government. I believe that the town that taxes best taxes least. I don't agree. I think the default position should be to allow people to keep as much of their own money as possible. And I feel like the town should comply with both the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. But my default perspective is to allow people to keep as much money as is possible and legal. I feel like the Board of Assessors, like their underlying motivation should be to represent the taxpayers. If the Board of Assessors is not representing the taxpayers, I don't know who else would, except for the taxpayers themselves. But so I think it's important to have that default perspective on the Board of Assessors, and I would bring that to the Board of Assessors if you saw fit to elect me. I think that that perspective goes hand in hand with recognizing the sacrifices that the taxpayers make to pay their taxes, and I think that consideration needs to be taken, and I would try to do that. I think I can do this. I have 30 plus years of business experience, and I hope that I'm worthy of your vote. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you out voting on June 8th. Thanks a lot.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily Graves Harrison, and I am up for re-election on the Monson School Committee. I have served one term so far. That's 3 years. I am also a lifelong resident here in Monson, where I'm raising my 2 daughters who are also members of the Monson Public School Systems. Over the past 3 years, I have been a part of many initiatives here at the Monson Public School Systems that I am proud of. As a parent, teacher, and leader within our community, I take pride in knowing that I am approachable. People come to me, and I hope you continue to come to me regarding your concerns, thoughts, or ideas about our schools and our community. In my opinion, being approachable and willing to listen to other parents and other members of our town and our community is the most valuable asset that I bring to the table. I utilize my ability to think outside of the box, to bring solutions that may not have been thought of in the past. It is very important to me that everybody in our town, our children and parents and community alike, always feel safe and welcome in our schools. I believe that the way to achieve that feeling is through community involvement at all levels. Many of you have seen me at various points in our town, usually with my little girls as sidekicks. And yes, we volunteer. We're athletes. I'm an athletic supporter. We are part of this community. They say it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that is a very accurate statement. I am thankful for my village, and many of you are part of that. Parents, teachers, administrators, our neighbors, and elected officials are that village. And it is put in place to protect our children. Through different school events that involve members of the town and the parents of the students, I believe that we can create a welcoming environment for all. In regards to new initiatives that I have personally worked on, there are so many that I'm proud of. One is how many people we bring to the meetings. It did take a pandemic for that to happen, but now that it has, I'm looking forward to continuing these Zoom meetings and maybe even like a hybrid model in the future. Some of the other things we've worked on are some improvements in the schools and the structures, replacing rugs at Quarry Hill. Some of them were so damaged. We've also worked on creating new programming, and we've actually been able to do that and stay within the same budget. And I think part of making Monson a marketable school as well as a really good school system is to make sure that we are bringing these new programs and keeping up with the times for all our children. I am looking forward to being able to put forth new ideas that will continue to help motivate our students to move forward in a direction that leads them towards a really bright future. I believe that over the course of my first term, I have proven to be effective in bringing new ideas to the table, as well as showing people that they have an ear to listen to and a voice to represent them. I would be honored to continue my service to our town as your school committee representative. Thank you.
Hello, Monson. My name is Allison Morgan, and I am a candidate running for school committee. My husband and I moved to Monson to raise our family and be part of this great community. Our two amazing children attend the Monson Public Schools, and I have been committed to support them in any way during their educational journey. I started my professional career as a speech-language pathologist working with clients of all ages. A large part of my caseload was working with local private and state-funded schools. Within that, I provided screenings for students within these programs, training to parents and staff, and also provided direct services to the students for speech and language development. Over time, I became the coordinator of our grant-funded program. This added the responsibility to identify local needs and allocate staff and resources and funding in the best way to benefit the most children in the community. Over time, working with various programs, I discovered my love of working and advocating for students and their families. This allowed me to support the teachers by providing recommendations for student goals and assisting parents through the referral process for therapeutic services. I decided to follow this passion and started working in a school-based setting where I have been for the last 12 years. During this time, I've built relationships with the students, teachers, administrators, specialists, and most importantly, parents, and have earned the respect from all. 4 years ago, I took a supervisory role within the school system. I did this not to step away from working directly with the students on a daily basis, but because this was the only way to adequately advocate for students and staff. I understand the individual needs of every student and how they can be supported in a classroom full of students with varying abilities. In education, you need to be creative to work with what you have. You have to balance the needs of students within the financial constraints of what education is today. In my current position, I've created new initiatives and programs and have saved money by thinking outside the box to utilize current staff and programs to evolve into what the students currently need. Vocationally, I take pride in the consistent positive feedback I've received from other providers for my communication and collaboration with families as their children are transitioned into our programs. These providers work with families across many districts and express they can see my dedication and genuine interest to positively support students and their families through these practices I have implemented. I ensure every parent understands the process and their options from day one. These characteristics I've mentioned should not be any different for an acting member of the school committee. My goal as an acting member of the school committee will be to advocate for the parents and students of Monson as your representative. I would make decisions based on fact and what the majority of parents in town want. When parents are polled and the results indicate a majority preference, I will voice that opinion and vote for such measures. I will not base my decisions on my personal beliefs or what is best only for my children. I currently do and will continue to go into every situation with an open mind and think of the now, the future, and apply lessons learned from past decisions to grow and move our school system forward. As someone currently working in school classrooms, I understand the needs of the students and how these needs evolve over time. I also understand what teachers need to be successful in their practices. If you want your interests to be accurately represented, then I humbly ask for your support and vote for me on June 8th. I hope to get the opportunity to truly represent families and advocate for all the children in the Monson community. You can also check me out on my Facebook page, Allison Morgan for School Committee. Thank you.
Hello, Monson. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jacky Watts. I was recently appointed to the school committee back in February. I'm now running for the same position unopposed for a term of 1 year. So with that being said, I just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about myself and what I'm about. So I was born and raised in Springfield, Mass. So I'm a Western Mass native, if you would. I moved to Monson in 2008. One of the best things I could have ever done. Love the town, love the people, and I especially love the schools. I have 2 daughters now that currently have gone through Monson schools and have graduated. And my youngest daughter is now at Granite Valley School, where she's in 6th grade. Some of you may or may not know that my wife works for Monson Schools, and she is currently the principal at Granite Valley School. Myself, I work for Springfield Public Schools. I work out of the Facilities Management Department, and I've been there for 24 years now. I'd also like to share with you that I was a member of the Monson Schools Consolidation Committee. That was a great committee. We all came together. This was pulled together by Dr. Clark, the superintendent of Monson Schools, and we came up with ways to consolidate Monson Schools. So we came up with moving the middle school, 7th to 8th grade, over into the high school and making Granite Valley Middle School, Granite Valley School, catering to grades 1 through 6. The great thing about this was meeting with so many different people, so many different ideas coming together for one specific purpose, and that was to have the best outcome for the students and staff of Monson Schools. I want what's best for Monson Schools. I believe in Monson Schools. We have an outstanding staff, and the administration teams are always going above and beyond. People of Monson, I want you to know that I'm very approachable and I'm very open-minded. If you ever have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. And if not myself, the other members of the school committee. Any one of us will be more than happy to try to help you to the best of our abilities. Again, my name is Jacky Watts. Thank you.